But first, let's launch into all the other interesting stories to share today. So I would like to invite Arthur on stage to start. Thank you.
Doing a startup with a new product and a new market is quite the adventure. I'd like to share my adventure with you, with my lessons that I will never forget, and my story in two specific moments that defined my startup and defined my life. Because some things really stick and some things go really gradually. One of the things that went gradually was that we started a company in 2007, two co-founders and me. We found an investor in 2008. Hired a few people, interns, freelancers, so we were at 8 people, nice office. We built our product, had a few enthusiastic customers, and it was all building up to the first moment, I guess, I would like to show you as well. Because that moment was November 19, 2009. It was a Dutch national TV show, and they had a competition for starting entrepreneurs. I was one of them. I had 60 seconds to pitch my idea live on TV. I was on TV.
Dag meneer.
Dag meneer.
2,40 meter schoon aan de haak, zo te zien.
Bijna.
Wie bent u?
Ik ben Arthur Tolsma van Greetink. En dat schrijf je met een Q op het einde. En ik ben hier om mijn producten te verkopen aan de jury.
60 seconden zijn voor jou.
Dankjewel. 60% van alle zakelijke gesprekken eindigt in voicemail. Dat is best wel een belangrijk contactmoment dus. Er wordt heel weinig mee gedaan. Iedereen heeft een saaie standaard begroeting. Waarom is het eigenlijk? En kan dat niet beter? Met premium voicemail van Greetink is het mogelijk om voor iedereen een persoonlijke begroeting in te stellen. En dat klinkt dan als volgt.
Beste Dirk Sauer, fijn dat je belt. Ik ben even druk met de marktintroductie van Greetink in Rusland, maar ik bel snel terug.
Nou, je zult merken dat als je dat voor contacten instelt, dat mensen zich heel erg gewaardeerd voelen. Die maakt hen namelijk belangrijk. En dat geldt natuurlijk ook voor privécontact. Dat klinkt dan zo.
Hey schatje, ik kan even niet opnemen, maar ik hou wel heel veel van je. Doei doei!
En voor hele bijzondere mensen heb je natuurlijk ook een bijzondere begroeting.
Okay.
Hey Jort, ouwe pik. Leuk dat je belt man. Ik ben even aan het shoppen in de PC, maar ik bel je snel terug.
Nou, het is heel makkelijk om zo'n begroeting in te stellen. Je toetst een telefoonnummer in, je koppelt dat aan een begroeting en voilà, je bent klaar. Nou, iedereen kan zich op de website aanmelden voor een gratis proefabonnement. En ik wil graag van de jury of zij geïnteresseerd zijn. Dan sluiten ze direct na de uitzending aan. Dankjewel.
Yo!
The jury and the audience loved me. I won the pitch contest. I was the winner. So the next day, I walked on the street, people recognized me. Hey, were you from that voicemail idea? I liked it, man, I liked it. And I felt the man. Newspapers called to write about our story. And I knew that we were ready. Ready to conquer the world. Ready for success. However, only 4 months later, I remember well, there was the second moment I'd like to share with you. It was March 29, 2010. I walked in the office at 5 o'clock with my two co-founders, just had a meeting. I closed the door behind me and I looked at the walls where the newspapers were that promised us a bright future. And I said to my team, guys, we have to tell you something. We have to tell you that we are almost bankrupt. We have to tell you that the money of the investor is gone and that we have a debt of 30,000 euros. Not that much money, but if you already put all your savings in that and if you started a company just out of university, that's quite hard. So I said, guys, the only way to deal with this is to fire all of us. That means you, that means the 3 of us. That means we have to shut down the office and then we go back to the garage, to our own home, to work 1 day a week. That's the only way we could survive the company. Because our service was in the cloud, our customers will not notice, but for us it will be something quite different. And afterwards I went home and I felt miserable and I fell on bed with my head first and I hit my pillow and I was like, why am I the only failed entrepreneur there is? Because I looked around in the incubator and there were lots of great startups, some really doing really well, some doing okay, but no one fails, right? And if things go wrong, you just work harder, right? If you work hard enough, if you persevere, you will always succeed. So I felt miserable. And after some time, my neck started aching from the position I was in, but there was something aching a lot more. That was my ego. Because I realized that I made a lot of mistakes. Mistakes, there were a lot of them. I totally underestimated the importance of sales. I thought you have a good product. Well, you all heard that, right? A good product sells itself. Bullshit. I underestimated the time you have to put in a sales process and the effort as well. I thought that when I talk to big companies and small companies, I thought that they might question our technical capability, okay. But so we worked on that, but instead later I learned they questioned our ability to implement it at their company. They didn't trust us. We were just 3 young guys. And then talking to a big bank is quite something different. Something else was different was the language that we spoke. As a startup, you're totally different than a corporate life. I remember well when we had a brainstorm session through my investor with the directors of a large bank, corporate bank in the Netherlands. And we went there and it was a brainstorm session. I thought, okay, so a little bit informal. So I had jeans and a shirt and a jacket. I thought business casual, that might suit for a brainstorm session. Everyone was suited, tie. So I was like, oh, maybe I should have worn a tie. And the next meeting, I did get a next meeting. But the next meeting, suit, tie. And when I proposed myself again, the director said, new suit, new tie, business going well, huh? And I realized we were talking the wrong language. And it might seem not that important, but to dress for success, it's important. And it means, it's really physical, shows that you talk different languages, so it's difficult to trust the other one. What I also did is I worked too hard. Because working hard is what entrepreneurship is all about, right? And we had it in the live panel as well. Working too hard, it means that you're not sharp at the moment you should be. I was talking to a new investor. He also wanted to invest 50,000 euros. And he was like, okay, and he was going fast. He was sharp. And before I knew, he proposed something. And I was afraid not to shake his hand. So I shook his hand. And then he thought we had a deal. And I thought, we'll work it out. So he threatened to sue us because I couldn't commit to the deal I promised. I promised by shaking his hand, which I didn't realize because I wasn't sharp, because I was sick, because I was tired, because I was working too hard. So I realized now that I have to work hard, less hard. I could continue with lots of time on talking on my failures, but I have to continue this talk, as I had to continue my life as well. I had to recover because I was tired. My ego was really down. My bank account was even lower, so I had to deal with that. And one thing to deal with that was to accept that I was in bad shape. So I allowed myself one day off. It was difficult because I had to work really hard to make some money, but I allowed myself, okay, I have one day a week I have off to recover. And I changed also soccer teams, by the way, which might not seem not relevant, but I played in the soccer team, in the first team and the second team, and the trainer always said, give everything you've got, Arthur, give everything you've got, give a little bit more. And I was so tired of giving everything. So I started playing just at a friend's team, just relaxed, enjoying the game, and that helped me. And what also helped was to do something which I actually was good at. I started giving presentation training and lecturing on universities in entrepreneurship. And the people in the room and the students and the participants of my training, they really valued me and they gave an applause afterwards. I was like, oh, I am good at something. It was quite relieving. And it was also quite relieving was the paycheck I got every month from a part-time job. Because I noticed that my energy level and my bank account level were quite correlated. And that's only something you realize if you're in financial stress. Then you realize how difficult that can be. So I was back on track after a few years. And there was a few things I had to deal with because I didn't want to be back on track. I wanted to beat the track. And especially in 2012, when we sold the company finally, just a little bit of money. I mean, it probably cost me in time and money about 100,000 euros. But I got some money out of it, and then I felt, okay, now I want to beat the track. Because I believe that there are 3 things you can do when something heavy encounters your life. You can neglect it, and that works well, pretty well for 5 to 10 years, and then you have to see a therapist, and that costs a lot of money, and so won't work on the long term. It's far better to accept it, to give it a place, to realize that it's just a part of life. But the best thing is, of course, to embrace it. And that's a strange thing, to embrace your failure. It's something which you want to neglect, but if you embrace it, you know that it helps, but it's difficult. For me, embracing was starting to tell my story and also writing a book about it, where I was open about all my mistakes and failures. Because we have a lot of people talking about their successes and writing books about successes. And I think it's great that today we have so many people together that are sharing their mistakes and their failures. Because that's where you learn the most about it. And now I have a great life. I'm part-time freelancer, do lots of great projects all over Europe. I'm part-time. I chose to work for a big consultancy firm in the Netherlands, which is teaches me new things and lets me see where and how we can use the startup knowledge to help corporates innovate, which is very interesting and very difficult, by the way. And for them, dealing with failure is quite difficult, as we also heard in the live panel on Microsoft, how difficult that could be. So it's great. And that's why I like to be here and to share my story with everyone, because I think it's a fact that we will make mistakes. And you will all have failures and mistakes in your life. So there are 3 ways to deal with that. And I would advise you, and I hope you will, and I guess you will, because since you're here, that you will embrace those failures and you will share them with the rest of your friends and colleagues. Thank you very much.